Death. The gradual end of life processes in all living beings. One day I will die, as well as those of you who are watching this video right now. But what happens to us after we die? Will we meet the deceased? Are we dying for another rebirth? Or do we turn into a spirit? The afterlife is a topic that has been with humans since we started to think. There are different opinions about the afterlife all around the world. Let's look at a few beliefs about the afterlife. According to Greek beliefs, we go underground after we are dead and buried. There is a chamber where people go after death. That was the abode of Hades, the god of death, as believed by the Greeks. We would be with Hades until we are reborn. In some Greco-Roman cultures, a few scriptures will be kept along with the corpse in the pit after burial. It contains instructions that are to be followed after rebirth. However, not all Greeks believe this. It was the Greek philosophers that brought forth the idea of the spirit for the first time. They rejected the argument that humans would go underground after death. Instead, they said that a spirit was present inside humans when they are born, and that it would dissolve into a super spirit after death. The Greeks believed that all living things had a spirit, but in the pre-Socratic era, the period before Socrates, the spirit was something that was present exclusively in humans only. So, what about animals? They didn't provide any explanation about that whatsoever. It is for this reason that scholars like Socrates rejected this. At the same time, Egyptian culture didn't share the concept of the spirit. They believed that life would leave the body to join nature, and that it was possible to bring it back to humans. Thus, they preserved the bodies of their family members before it could decompose. These were discovered later. Buddhism had a very different perspective on this matter. This thought is somewhat modern in the perspective of the spirit. There was no concept of the soul in Buddhism. Most importantly, there wasn't the concept of God either. It was when Buddhism split that the Mahayana Buddhism, which worshipped Buddha as the god, came into being. Buddhism before that actually supported reason. They believed that humans and their minds would join the earth after death. What do you think after hearing all this? Is there really an afterlife? Do we turn into a spirit after death? There is no evidence for the spirit. These are all just ideas that came from the minds of thinkers. Humans are intelligent beings. It has been centuries since studies about human origin and our consciousness began. The question of whether consciousness was controlled by someone else led to the concept of the spirit. So, let's look at the scientific aspect of the afterlife. To know what actually happens after death, we have to know how we stay alive. What makes humans human is their level of consciousness. The cerebral cortex is a part of the brain that plays a key role in consciousness. This is aided by the electrical waves in the brain. That is, our body works in the same way a machine does. Its control panel is a brain that can control itself. Death is what happens when the flow of electricity to a machine stops. That is, if for some reason the brain malfunctions or does not get the nutrients and oxygen it needs, the brain is unable to generate electrical waves, resulting in the control panel being turned off and the whole body in shutdown mode. There are two types of death. 1. Clinical death. 2. Brain death. Clinical death can be reversed. Even if all other physical activities stop, the emotions in the brain will be alive. Thus, a person can be brought back to life through life-saving equipment, such as a ventilator. But a comeback is impossible in the case of brain death. It is a condition where the electric waves in the brain stop completely. The body will shut down, starting with the lungs first and then the heart. The blood flow also stops as a result of the heart stopping. Due to gravity, blood flows to the lower region of the body where it builds up like a lake. After that, the calcium in the bones will leak and spread to the muscles due to the absence of hormones, and the body becomes stiff. Due to the lymphocytes being destroyed, the bacteria will then become active and start to eat away at the body. The bacteria in the intestines will travel by feeding on it, and then turn into worms after completely demolishing the digestive system. This forms a foul odor that attracts insects. The remains of what the bacteria and insects ate will be decomposed by the soil and dissolved in the atmosphere in the form of molecules. Thus, we turn into molecules. This is what happens after death. There will always be at least one molecule from a dead person in the air we breathe. This will be there in every breath. This molecule plays an important role in sustaining the condition of life. Some studies indicate that this helps in maintaining the oxygen balance. What we are saying is that, scientifically, the afterlife is a myth. What happens after death will be just the same as it was before our birth. So, are all these horror stories we've heard of just lies? What is the truth behind those who claim to have seen a ghost in person? Let's talk about that in another video.